7, 8, 9, the 14 years, already 14 years at UB. So I never stayed over 10 years in the one place before in my life, so including the old house, and surprising myself stay the one place over the 14 years. So hopefully continue. So but anyway, so I'm usually teaching database and the database related courses. Anyone who this is the first class at UB or in United States at UB. 1, 2, 3 for several years, okay, and the others are continuing, okay. So probably the others may know me or heard about my name. The others, so I usually teach the courses related to the data, or the data mining or database and so on. So mostly it's a computer science class, as well as the engineering 400. So if you are in the graduate program, so you need to take the engineering 400. So we will see on Thursday. Okay. And my office is in the South Shore. This may be the last semester to stay at the South Shore, because the end of the spring semester it will be demolished. So university would like to make a parking lot. So no more the South Shore or North Shore residential hall. So I do not know where I need to go. I will let you know. But this semester I'm in the South Shore, the room number 107. But the problem is it's locked most of the time. So you need to push the button during my office hour. Otherwise, email me or contact the GA to access the South Shore. Also, South Shore, I have the research lab. It's 108. It's next to my room. So you can, if you need to access the room, please let me know. Okay. So this is a course list I'm teaching in this semester. This one, as well as the data mining. So this is the course website that shows only the syllabus. So don't worry about the link of this website. I'm not going to update anything. This is your just the information at the beginning of the semester. So I'm going to brief the course contents and everything. So using this one. So we are going to use this classroom. In case we have more students, so we do not have enough seats, so I'm going to ask the registrar office to move to another. But the registrar office nowadays is very strict to assign the room. So assign the room, so they are very strict, so I'm not sure whether we can get a better, bigger room. But so far we have several other available seats. So, and it's 9:30 to 10:45 in the morning. Will not be changed. So please try to your. I know some of the students commute using the MTA, the train, but try to your best. From time to time, I'm going to check your attendance. So it will be part of your final grade. I don't know when, but but mostly if you are late, so I'm going to give the credit. But if you miss, so no way. Okay. My office hour is after class in my office, so most of the time. Otherwise, you can contact me to get the appointment. So we have a GA. Unfortunately, all the professor in our department had less the GA than the usual. So I have only one GA to help both of my courses. Kido. So.
Hello, nice to see you guys. My name is Ki-Deok-sung, and I'm gonna help you guys for this semester. If you have any difficulties for this course, just let me know through the email.
Okay. And I will let you know his office hour and the location, probably the South Shore. I'm the only one right now who is in the South Shore. All the other professors in School of Engineering in the engineering building, but I'm the only one, so please don't be confused. And I will let you know his office hour. And he is in charge of most of grading and exercise lab throughout the semester. Okay. And the textbook, I forgot to bring a textbook. I will let you know the textbook. So, but this is the title of the textbook, the fundamental of database system. I will let you know the next the class. So, actually, this is the cover page of the textbook. So, its title is the fundamental of a database system. It's the 7th edition. I don't think we have the newer edition, so we are going to use the 7th edition, authored by Dr. Elmasari. Actually, he's my old professor during my PhD, and he's one of the very famous researcher in database area. And this textbook, probably if you are coming from other country, so you may use this textbook. So it's one of the most famous database textbook. So I strongly suggest you guys to have this one, not only because this class, but I usually suggest my student to have the textbook printed, the textbook for the core courses. Right now we do not have core courses, but like the fundamental subject, like the OP, the network, algorithm, and the database and the operating system architecture. So computer architecture are the very, very basic and fundamental subject of computer science and computer engineering. So still, I look up my old textbook if I need. So it will be better for your life because anyway, probably 90% of you guys will be around the IT or computer for your entire life. So then I strongly suggest to have this one. The problem is the price. It's very expensive. So I cannot say you can buy international edition. I heard from the author, the Dr. Elmasari, the international edition is not actually the copyright. So it's illegal. But I cannot say you can buy, okay? So also I cannot say you can download the PDF file, okay? So it's true, even I cannot say it's up to you. So, but it is, I know, I fully understand the price is $200 of the textbook. So it's, I will not say, so you can download from internet the PDF version, but my class will be based on the textbook. Okay? So, and don't worry about the grading policy right now. Usually it may be changed based on your overall performance. So then also grading distribution also. Okay. So these are the course schedule. I tried my best to follow this schedule, but who knows? The snow or the school closing may be changing. I will let you know the possible. In case of the snow, so I usually that's the problem of the first period classes. So I know some of you guys are coming from New Jersey or New York, and so want to know whether if the university-wide is closed, I will not have class. Okay. Sometimes if we are in advanced order, if I have a time, so I'm going to cover in the next class. But if we have back-to-back the school closing, if I do not have enough classes, sometimes I'm going to use the online tool. So we have what is the Canvas tool. So using the Canvas tool, we can have the online classes. So please stay tuned through the Canvas message. So I will let you know the Canvas if we are the first time to use such a thing. So I will try my best. And also from time to time, as you can see, that we have the exercise lab. So we will use this classroom for the exercise lab. So you don't have to go to any other computing room, because throughout the semester we are going to use the cloud computing. So from the Google. So it's called the GCP, Google Cloud Platform. So you are going to create your own server as well as the database. We are going to use a MySQL database. So what you need to have is just laptop, or even you can use your cell phone if you can manage the screen very well. But mostly the laptop will be used for your exercise lab as well as your project. Okay, I will explain the more details later about the project. So these are the schedule. Any questions so far? Then the next thing is Canvas. So if you are new at the UB, so you should be familiar with the Canvas tool. So I think that this is the URL, bridgeport.instructor.com. Then you can use the UB ID and password. Then this is the student view. It's not the view. So for your information, you can find the course list. The problem is the CPSC5551. We have half of the students are from the undergraduate, and the other half are from the graduate. It's always a problem. That is my problem, so to teach, because it's close listed. The undergraduate and graduate. Undergraduate is the 350, it's a database design. The 551 is the graduate level. The long time before, maybe the 6-7 years ago, I teach 2 courses for database. So this one mostly focus on the design, and this one focus on the design plus the database. The system is an average method, query optimizer, and the transaction management, and advanced database topic. Department wanted to combine so into one, because at the time we didn't have enough the enrollment in the undergraduate, usually 1 or 2. But right now it's the reverse. So we have a little bit more the undergraduate. But because based on my experience, how many undergraduate right now in this classroom? Yes, you can see there is more than half. So it's okay. Thank you. And I'm going to focus on this is undergraduate level, this is graduate level, like this one, the middle of the graduate level, which means so for graduate student it may be first time easy. Okay. If you already took the database class before you are undergraduate, so first half will be pretty much similar. So please use this time for kind of a remind, okay, of the experience. Then the second half we will discuss about the database topic. For undergraduate, it will be really tough. But based on my experience, the undergraduate student really they are doing very well, sometimes better the outcomes than the graduate students. So I don't want to lower down my expectation because of undergraduate. So please, the undergraduate student work a little bit harder, and I know this is tough. So, but for the grading and any class activity, so contents-wise will not be changed, but the grading or the evaluation, so I'm going to separate the undergraduate and graduate. So for example, so if you got the exactly same 70, the 70 undergraduate and graduate, so this may be the C, this may be the B plus, something like that. Okay? Okay. So for the grading itself, I will not change, but for the final grade, so I'm going to adjust based on the status. Okay? So some of the undergraduate students give up because I got the 50, but the 50 is not so bad in the midterm. In my class, the exam is really tough. So don't be discouraged, the undergraduate student, because I'm going to focus on the middle the graduate. It's not but the graduate student do not overlook for the contents is a good time to review the first half, and second half will be a little bit tough. Okay, any questions? So that's the reason that you can see the speed, even though you are undergraduate, you will see the 551. You are in the right place. So any questions so far? Okay, so a couple of students already asked why I'm in the 551, because of the close listed. Because I don't want to manage the 2 sections of the Canvas course. Canvas, the workplace. Okay, we are going to use this one throughout the semester. So all your submission, all your information you can get from this site. So it's your responsibility to check from time to time, at least 1 time a day, or before you come to classroom. and also all the communication through the Canvas message, not the UB email. Sometimes I ignore the UB email, but most of the time, if you send the Canvas message, I tried my best to reply as soon as possible. But sometimes maybe if you do not receive my response, which means I'm thinking, well, I'm doing something. Okay. So, but most of the time I respond quickly as soon as possible. So please use this one. It's the best way to for the communication. Because some of the students use even the Gmail, but I do not respond to any request or appointment or anything from Gmail. Okay, so please, I know that the student email is Gmail, but your domain is my.bridgeport.edu. But even if you are using the UB email, so I will not respond quickly. So please use the Canvas message. So I already sent the Canvas message the last the weekend, so such a way. Also, I'm not going to, this is not an online course, even though I'm taking the video for my lecture. That's for the future use. So please do not rely on I missed the class. At that time may be possible, but do not rely on recorded video. Please try to your best to attend the class. That is the best way. Then, however, if you believe that I know everything really, okay? So then with my approval permission, so you don't have to attend. So please continue. But that doesn't mean the all class activity will be waived. You need to do all the, sometimes I have a pop-up quiz. So you may miss the pop-up quiz if you do not attend. Okay. Also you cannot get the credit for the attendance check because you miss it. But that's not huge. So please contact me if you really want. I want to do something other because I know this subject. So then I can give the permission to you. But I strongly suggest to attend the class throughout the semester. So if you go to the this side, so you need to focus on the two parts, the files and assignment. Okay. So files has all the file that we are going to use throughout the semester. So like the exercise lab, the GCP is for the cloud computing. I will give the more information later. And the homework is already planned. This homework is not really for the grading and something else. Please do the homework by yourself. It's a kind of review. Okay. And frankly speaking, I'm copying the previous semester. So you can find the solution from the other student previous. But it's not huge part. It's just for your reminder of the class. Okay. So instead, I'm going to have from time to time the pop-up quiz or pop-up assignment. Pop-up assignment is I just got the idea, so I can assign. So that will be the updated on the assignment. Then you can submit. You can focus on such a thing. So homework you can easily do. It's less than 10 minutes. You can finish the homework. So please use the homework. I don't expect you guys to preview and review every time. Okay. Even I didn't do that in my PhD and master. So, but just this is for the just review purpose. So, but if you just copy and paste, it's waste of your time, waste of the GA, the Gidok's time. So he will grade, but please use this homework for your kind of mind and the review of that. And also, if you go to the assignment, also you can find the lecture note. So I'm going to use this lecture note throughout the semester. And if you go to the assignment, two main parts. One is the homework that I mentioned here. Wow, this is bored. Show by time. Yes. So exercise lab will be just a reminder. There is no assignment here. It's very hard. Yes. So it's just for your reminder. There is no submission yet. But in case the GA or me assign any homework during the lab, so you need to submit. Okay. Otherwise, there is no. It's just for your reminder. Because as you can see, it will be kind of pop up the upcoming assignment homework. So that is the exercise lab, and the homework is already assigned to chapter 3, 4. Please follow. if my lecture is different from this order, please let me know. Sometimes I do not know whether this is the chapter 3 is not covered because of snow, but there is a dew. Then let me know. The GA will adjust the time. Okay. Then we have the project. I'm going to explain separately, but it's already the schedule. So please follow this one. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then let me explain the project first, because we are a little bit in a hurry. So to start the first phase, okay. This is my second semester to use the Mac. So I'm getting better, but still not legit 3. No, how to use this. So this is the project. Sometimes makes sense, sometimes weird interface. Anyone who are using MacBook, please help me. From time to time, I'm going to ask. So we have the semester-long project. So this semester is group I2. So first, you guys need to form a team. Okay. So by I think I specified the due date. Not February 1st. By the January 28th is the next week. Okay. Because first you need to form a team by 2. But in the same section, which means the undergraduate is only for undergraduate and graduate student and only for graduate. In case we have an odd number, like the one odd number and one undergraduate, one graduate, I can form a team. The last student. If we have the odd of odd, so only one student remain, then I'm going to assign one student to the one of the group. Okay. So otherwise, it's a group by 2 in the same section, same level. Okay, so it should be done right away. So you don't have to worry about the knowledge or experience on the database based on. So for example, if you are very good at the programming, you can find someone who knows the server side or whatever. So if you never use the GCP or the cloud computing, you'd better find someone who knows such a thing. But if you are not ready anything, you can find anyone. But if you know everything, so you'd better find someone who can buy lunch or the dinner. But if you do not form a team by the January 28th, the next week, the Tuesday class, I'm going to firstly assign. Otherwise, you don't have time to start the project. So, in this then how to inform the project team? Going back to this one. So, if you go to the people, and if you click the group, it's a self-assignment. So for example, if you guys decide to form a team, one of them assign the project group. One of the group, and the other student can follow. Okay, so it's the self-assignment. And if you do not, there might be. In my view, I have the list of students left-hand side. It's who are not assigned any group. Then the next class, next week class, I'm going to forcefully assign. Then you guys should work together. I know. So it's not easy to manage the group, so some of them keep fighting. So, but it's one of the challenge to manage the kind of teamwork. Okay, and going back to the project. So in this semester, we are going to kind of mimic the entire process of the database project. It's not the big, huge, mega-sized project, but it's very small. Regarding to the topic of this semester is the UB course registration system. You already know how to register, and all of them complain. All of you guys are complaining the web advisor was one. It's a good time to show what you want to do, what you felt from the web advisor to when you register the courses. So anyway, so we are going to develop the UB registration system using DBMS. So basically, before we start, so what is this? Yeah, this is a computer in this class. So I'm going to use this one throughout the semester. So whenever I draw the rectangle, this is a computer. It is true. Our major, computer science, deal with a computer. Without computer, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so we are going to use this one. It's very important. Surprisingly, even the professional, the developer, or those who are working for the IT company for 30 years, 40 years, sometimes they have the very lack of knowledge on computer itself. I strongly believe the understanding computer architecture is fundamental and the first thing. Doesn't matter what is the deep learning AI or the machine learning database, but if you understand the computer, probably next decade, 5 years later, 10 years later, deep learning will not be or AI will not be the first one. There might be new subject, new topic coming out, and the Python no longer used, and another program language will be used. But without understanding such a computer itself, so you should study every time. Okay, so what is a computer? This one. Doesn't mean the rectangular. So computer, so computer is, what is a teacher?
A person teaches.
Yes. What is a computer?
A machine that computes.
A person who computes.
A machine
But
that
it's not the person. It's a
machine.
machine. So what is the oldest computer?
The Turing machine.
Turing machine? I never heard about that. The oldest computer. IBM something? IBM was founded 1920 something.
Oh, the first electrical computer.
I didn't say the electrical computer yet, so you know what is the next step. But just computer. If computer itself is something that can compute, so all this computer will be kind of an abacus. Who said that? It's like the Babylonian?
Yep.
Yes. So I thought it's from the China, but it's Babylonian. So you can find the abacus. It's like the something stone like this.
You saw that.
Yeah. So you can compute.
Yeah.
So still being used in many of the Asian countries. And the similar thing is worldwide. Right?
It was like calculator, right?
Yeah, it's a calculator. The calculator is a part of computer.
So not first programmable computer.
I didn't say the programmable.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
So that's believe it or not, I learned this one in the elementary school. Really, I was not very good. So at the time, so I was not good at the math. But this is not really math, but it's based on the digit and the different number system. Okay, so starting from this one, so finally we have this kind of computer, considering the electric, and also considering programmable. And there are different definitions of such a computer, modern computer, but usually we say the first computer is the kind of a 1948 from the UPenn. So if you go to the Pennsylvania, so you can find next to the UPenn, the engineering building, you can find something science. The first developed computer system, which is called ENIAC. So I heard that, but recently I read the article. So there's something who invented such ENIAC, but it's a different person. But anyway, so most of people say the first electrical, the modern computer system is ENIAC or whatever. So we are going to consider not this one, so modern the computer system. So if I'm asking you what is the main component of a computer? Microprocessor CPU. So we need something to compute.
Yep.
So this is usually we call the central processing unit. Okay. So this is the main part of that. So main job, compute. So not only the calculator or the add or delete, but many other the operation, which is called
Arithmetic and register.
register is the next thing.
It has.
Okay. So we have something in the micro instructions. You already took my couple of courses, so you know the answer. So again and again, but I think that this one is so very briefly. So most of my first class is the review of this one. So we have instruction. So number of instruction, like basically add, or the subtract, or load, or the store, and depending on the manufacturer, it may be the like if you are using the 4-bit, the processor. Do we use the 4-bit processor? No? Yes?
4-bit?
4-bit.
Cell phone?
This one. This one uses still the 4-bit
yeah.
the processor. So then the 4-bit processor, how many different operation? 2 to the power of that is very less. It's like 8.
Yeah.
So we are using the actually 4-bit processor, microprocessor. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we are using the 2. Is it called the nibble? What is the 8-bit is the byte, and 4-bit is a nibble. I think the nibble, but I cannot remember exactly. So 2 nibble usually used, and then the 3-bit used for the code of the instruction. So 2 to the power of 3. So we have total 8 operation instruction.
What is another one used for?
So this one used for example, we need to use the space storage. AX, BX is a general purpose register. So you can specify the 01 is AX, 0, the 10, something like that. I'm not very good at such a microprocessor part, but this is the just a general idea. It can be 8-bit, 16, 32, and we have 64. But their architecture still the same idea. So this is the operation code. So CPU had designed, so Intel, where such a manufacturer designed such a number of instruction, then using what? Circuit and like the adder and a bunch of other things. So if you are taking the data mining class, I'm going to explain a little bit more detail, but in this class, very quickly. So then we have the general storage like AX, BX, CX, and so on, or the PC program counter. Then the problem of the CPU is it has very less small storage. Then we have the huge amount of data. So you can store such a data. Hard disk drive? Actually not. It's the primary storage is the memory. Some of the students think that this is the primary. No, this is not primary. Computer never, the CPU never ever access this. Only access the memory. So through what? We have highway, it's called the bus. So if you are using 4-bit process, we have the 4 wires. So at the same time, we can send the 0 or 1 at the same time. Then we store such a data on the. So what is the memory? Memory. Remember the data. It keeps the data. So memory is if you need to define the memory in one statement. Memory is storage. You should know.
Of course.
It's a sequence of what? Location. Location is the non-computer science. Address. So it's nothing but address. Historically, the memory architecture, it has the address, then different way of storing such a bit by bit. So you can use something like the bird, 0 or 1. So then the 0 or 1, 0 or 1, 0 or 1, then you can specify this is the 000 address. Then if using the address in the add, AX, BX, so this are what? Move, for example. Most popular instruction, move. The memory to memory, memory to register, register to register, register to memory. You can move the such data using what? the address. So actually this memory is nothing but sequence of address. Okay? So like to think about the dormitory. Dormitory is when you are looking for your friend. So you should know address. It's the room number. So room number, so 001, 002, 003. And there are different ways of such a managing the address. So where did you learn such a thing? In your data structure class. So in your data structure class, so you learned about array base. So array base is usually start from the beginning, then next. For what? Memory.
Yeah.
It's actually nothing but the memory, how to use the memory. Data structure means so how to use the memory, because this is a primary storage. So think about the programming. So if you define integer I in the C program, what happens? What is an integer?
Variable.
So
Data type.
data type. So data structure means store the data in the memory. Usually, most of the case, in it 8-bit,
32 bits.
So it's
so 4 byte.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many bit? 32 bit.
32.
That's the reason 2 to the power of 32. If signed is half of that, plus minus, so 2 to the power of 31 number. You can store the data. It's a very simple integer. But the float may be slightly important. It has to use in the floating, the decimal point, and the string is the problem. Right? Character.
Yeah.
Character is not only we can use from now on code. So there's no way to represent the A. Instead, we can code this is a 0001,
Yeah.
something like that. So ASCII code is the old standard. Then right now, based on the ASCII, then we have the
Yeah.
Unicode. Okay, then more. So this ASCII code use only 2 bytes, so limited. But the Unicode can cover the most of the languages. And even nowadays, emoji.
Yeah, emojis.
That's the reason even it was not standard, but right now it's a standard. You can send the text message using the emoji. Any Android and any kind of phone can show the emoticon because it's a standardized already. It's getting changed. Maybe next year, so hologram will be standardized. Here, I do not know. So integer I, so it's a space. Okay. So which means this the data structure used for how to store the data. So our course title is the database. Database design. Data. We already used such a memory space to manage the data so far. Then problem is what is the pros and cons of the memory?
What?
Pros. And cons. What is the benefit? What is the disadvantage? Problem. Memory is fast,
Yeah.
right? So they're using the bus to access data. It's fast. So mostly the memory, your cell phone. I visited the China game during the winter to teach the private course. It's called the Shouji. Any Chinese? Chinese? Who can speak Chinese? Shouji. Shouji is the cell phone. It's also computer. It's used mostly not hard disk drive. Why? It's slow.
Yeah.
So memory. We are using the memory. So how to access the data? It's fast.
Yeah, it's fast.
Mostly fast. Problem?
It's limited.
It's limited and expensive and mostly volatile.
Yep.
There are non-volatile, the NAND-based the memory, but it's otherwise it's volatile. So because of this one, it's a limited storage, and also it's limited by nowadays 64-bit. So 64-bit or 32-bit limit what? Address also. So you can use the 64-bit. Go back to 4-bit. 4-bit, as we have seen here, only 4-bit, the memory is limited by the 4-bit. 2 to the power of 4. What is that? 16? Yeah. So 16. But 64, almost unlimited. So from now on, 32-bit up to the 32-bit is limited by the 4 gigabyte. But nowadays, we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay? It's almost unlimited. So go back to this one. So if we are using only the memory, it's limited. Okay. So if we store and manage the data using the only programming, which means it's a memory based. So memory. So what happened? So this is my program, A.C file, and compile A.out file. This is the object file and the executable file. Then if I run this one, A.out program, what happened? In your operating system class, we compile. And after compile, I try to run this program.
So
And what happens?
the address, like the point that you have.
This one will be loaded into the memory. Because memory is the only the location that the CPU can access. So CPU would like to access this one. You need to access to do something. Like the for loop, while loop in the source program, you need to, the CPU need to run this based on this. I'm not going to explain such a difference, this one and this source code. So you probably know from the compiler. Then this one is the sequence of this. Then the CPU need to access, which means if you keep the A.out file only the storage, no way to access. Okay, so we need to move this one into the memory. This is called process. Okay, when we are saying the process is your program running on your memory. Okay, if you keep the program on your hard disk drive, it's nothing. Okay, so nothing you can do. CPU no way to access. But once you double click, or once you type the command from the command line, so it will be accessible by the CPU. So which means it's a data structure on your memory. Okay, so process is also data structure. I mentioned many times in the operating system class. Unfortunately, I'm not teaching operating system. Good for me. So that was the only course which is not related to my primary major. Okay, but anyway, so that is the process. So finally, CPU can access data. So you can for example, input. Right now, we are using a lot of Python. Python, the input command, you can get the input, like the name. So you can type the name, what happened. So you can assign input name to the name, the variable. Okay. Then what's going on in the memory? For example, Python. Anyone who never used the Python? I strongly suggest you guys study by yourself, at least. Okay? So even though Python is not the primary program language, but it is true when you get a job. So most of the companies nowadays require the understanding experience of Python, and you can find. So it's not very difficult. It's a very intuitive program language. So I'm not very good at program language, but even I can teach Python. So for example, in the Python is input, then the sign. What happened? For example, in the Python, C may be different, or the Java may be different way to use the memory structure. But most of object-oriented program language use what? Object to store the data. So we are going to create LEE object, and address is FFFF, for example. And return the address to the name variable. This is called the object reference array. Okay, different from C. Also different from Java. Java use just a reference, and the C, it has the data, right? So that is an object-oriented programming. Python use. So, which means we are managing such a data in the memory. It's a memory-based database. Memory-based database. Can you create any program without data? Probably not. So one of the main reasons to use the computer system is we'd like to process. We'd like to something do with the data. Okay. So even we are using hello world, the very basic program. Whenever we study the new program language, we are doing this one. Python is one of the easiest the program language to this one, just the print, because it use interpreter, not compiler. They are very similar but slightly different. The interpreter is like the real-time translator.
Line by line.
Yes. So whenever I'm saying in English, you can translate into natural language. So that is the real-time translator in the conference and so on. But the compiler is like the translator book entire together. Then you need to see the meaning between the line and whether this translate reflect the idea of author like that. So it's a different. It's a translate, but it's different. The same thing, and so using this one, you can translate. Then it will be compiled to the bytecode. Then the virtual machine will execute that. Finally, in the memory, we have the storage for the data. So we have been using the database based on what? Memory. Problem? It's the same problem as the memory itself. It's limited. So in other words, when we have very large data, so it's the problem. So sometimes we have the 1 giga. Most of the students have the 8 gig or the 16 gig memory size laptop nowadays. So what if my data size is 100 gig or the 1 terabyte? No way. Okay? And will be slow because memory is not only for storing the data, it has the process, as I mentioned. How many process? 100. Even during the operating system, you probably learn, if you already took the operating system, we learn the schedule. Because the memory space is not big enough, so when we run the 100 process here, so we need to schedule something like that. So we need to use the memory, the data structure, like the page and the swap and so on. So what if we have the really great 1 terabyte size? It's not very big nowadays. If you have a chance to take the big data or the NoSQL database, nowadays easily it's bigger than the. Think about your video. How do you watch the video? Mostly Netflix. For me, I usually watch the movie drama from my hometown Korea, which is not available on Netflix. I can use the VPN, but the VPN very slow, and I don't want to pay for the 15, 20 bucks. So I'm using torrent. I download the. If you watch the movie only for your entertainment, it's not illegal.
That's true.
But yes, it's sure. But if you the broadcast, that will be illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is okay. And some of the content is even you are using the P2P is illegal. But if you do not the broadcast, so anyway, so most of the 1 hour the drama is around if you are using the 720p or the 1000 the p means pixel. So if you have a chance to take the computer vision or image processing, it's much more fun. So if I have a time, I will explain later. But anyway, so like the 720p, which is the HD quality. HD means high definition. Okay, it usually requires at least 32 frames per second. Okay, which means it's huge size, around 1 gig size one. So memory is not good enough, big enough, even to keep such the 1 hour the drama or movie. I know we are not using the copy, instead we are using streaming. So it's a different the data structure we are using in the most of the program. But anyway, roughly, so it's not big enough. Then how to address that problem?
Second time?
So this time we are going to use the disk drive, okay, storage. Okay, secondary storage, not the. So we are not going to deal with in this class the memory base. Instead, we are going to use this one. Okay, so then it may not have the same data structure as a memory base. Okay, memory base mostly rely on the data structure by compiler, program language. This one is different. So we will see how to manage such a very large. So keep in mind, so if we have the small amount of data, it's a small size database, we don't have to use database, you don't have to take the Discord. In case we have the very large data, even the 30, 40 years ago, when the ER diagram or some of the database, the model were proposed, at the time they said, well, too many very large database, they said at the time. Even though at the time very large means several megabytes, really. But it was very large still. But recently it is the problem. So up to 1 petabyte size is 1,000 terabyte, right? 1,000 terabyte, which means 1,000 of laptop amount of data. Okay, several petabyte, like up to the 100 petabyte, may be okay using such an idea. But recently, the Facebook, YouTube, every time some of the students, even though we are going to upload the video, lecture video to the YouTube, it's free. Surprisingly, it's free.
Yeah.
So we upload and we create a huge size of data. So even the approach that we are going to discuss in this semester may not be feasible for such a really, really big data. That is the problem of the big data. So we are not going to touch the big data, such as really big data right now. Instead, the less than the petabyte size level. But it is true in this class we are not going to deal with the petabytes really size data. Instead, we mimic. Okay, we are going to pretend such a size of data in your project and in our class. Okay, but one more thing for this. So I have used the Oracle database, which is managed by the IT service, which means the IT service, they create one server and they install the Oracle database, and you are through the UV network, you are going to access this database by creating the student account. But this is old-fashioned. I decide to change our computing environment, which is based on the cloud. So cloud means cloud. So there is no solid shape of the. So we are. So if you are interested in such a thing, so you can take the cloud computing also. But we have the commercial company to provide such a cloud. Amazon, AWS, and also Google provide. Google is way behind actually. Frankly speaking, the AWS is the top leader of the cloud market. Then followed by the Google, way behind. But Google provide the $50 the credit, which means pretty much enough for your educational purpose throughout the semester. Okay. Amazon they provide, but they require credit card. So some of the students do not have the credit card information and who are scared. Because if you do not clean up the server or the homework, it will be automatically charged. Really, that happened to me a couple of months, so it's $30 is charged. So that's the only reason to use the cloud. Also, another thing is Google Cloud, which means on the Google Cloud, you are going to create this one, computer, your own computer. Okay? Then on this computer, you are going to create the database, your own database. I know some of the students already use the SQL Server in the programming class, okay, as a backend. But so that's only for that's not much different from the memory base. So we are going to focus on the first, design, how to design the database. Then the second thing is we pretend the real life system. And if you get a job after graduation, no company will use a local database like the SQL Server. No one. That's totally different. If you are using the local database like the SQL Server on your laptop and you are doing the C# programming, they are not much different because the C# itself considers the database as the object. So using ADO and other, it's just like the memory. Object is a memory data structure, in other words. So it's the same thing, nothing different. So I'm not going to allow to use a local database. Even though you have used the SQL Server or MySQL on your laptop in other classroom, that's the experience on the other class. So instead, you need to create this one on the server using GCP. Okay, then create your own MySQL, then connect this database from I will explain later the application. This is what you are going to do. So to explain this one, I introduce all the basic of this. One more thing, it's almost time, right? 15 more minutes, okay, good. One more thing, the main problem of using the Google Cloud Computing is one of the difference between the AWS and this one is AWS, mostly it's web-based menu driven. Okay? So you can just click and use, easy to use. The Google, because I believe most of the developer at the Google, they had experience working on the command line interface. So command line interface. So if you already took the operating system, one of the main component of the operating system is this one, interface. So like the iOS has the menu and it's very fancy, nice the interface, and this is the Microsoft style. The interface, they try to change their interface, but go back to so all the menu and the people because already get used to such a so all the people user complain and they go back to. And however, we have another type of operating system like the Linux, the Unix. There, the Google Cloud GCP are based on this one main. Even though they provide the Windows NT and the Windows 10 and so on. So to do that, you should be familiar with the command line interface. This is a good time, okay, to start. So if you never use a command line interface, like the shell, so you can study the bash shell, BASH bash shell. So if you do not, so whatever you have the question in this classroom, or if you are not sure, so don't ask me first. The Google is much better than me. So search the Google, okay? Then you can get much more info. So I'm not sure what the Professor Lee is talking about. Search the bash shell, okay? So then how to start and how to learn. There are a lot of good material and even online the machine to practice. And also plus, if possible, editor, VI editor. If you are familiar with the VI editor, pretty much you are able to use command line interface. Okay, so you probably learned more from the operating system class, but Gidok, our GA, was the GA of the operating system before. He will introduce more about the using the GCP based on the command line interface. Okay, so I strongly suggest to, because I'm not going to cover in this class this kind of thing. So it's your responsibility to learn. This is a really good time. For those who never used this one, believe me, later after you got the job, most of the company uses such a, it is very, very interesting that even though the computing environment changes, still the command line interface is more popular in the real field. And it is true, still true. It was true 20 years ago, but still true. If you can show your ability, how much you are familiar with using command line, like the VI and such an editor, then it looks like the professional, even though it's not. So you can pretend. But it was true 20 years ago when I learned the VI first time from the supervisor. He said exactly the same thing, but it's still. So if you are really good, so you can, if you see the drama or something movie, so like the hacker shows that something, the blue or the black screen and a lot of, it's like the command line interface. But if the hacker just click the windows, doesn't look like the real hacker, right? So this is the study and get used of this. So this is let's go back to our project then. I didn't change this one. Let me. Okay. Yes. Okay, so let's go back to the project description. So after you form a team, what we are going to do is finally using the GCP, you are going to create your own team database. For your practice, you'd better use your individual database machine instance. But for one of the team member should use the database for you can create as many the database instances as possible. So you can use one of them for your project. Then finally, at the last stage, so you need to show your database. Then from your programming application should be able to access your data and implement the menu that you are going to design. So in this semester, you are going to implement a registration system. To do that, even though we know the general purpose and usage of the database, you are going to design such a database. Because each one of you has the different perspective, different idea. So by team, you are going to design from the first plan your project. Okay. At this time, without any knowledge of the database, you are going to just, I need this one, this one, this one. Okay, in just plain English. Okay, not the database skill, not the whatever. But from the second, so we will do basically the logical. You don't have to worry about what is even though you don't understand the name of that, don't worry about too much. So we will learn. So first the conceptual design, then the GCP setup, and the physical database design, and finally application. So this is a step by step until the end of the semester. It's a semester-long project. So if you cannot catch up, I do not implement the logical database, doesn't make sense to move to the next stage. So please follow the schedule. Okay, and I'm not going to explain the line by line the details of the project. But if I need to do, I will introduce. But first, you need to read this project description I already uploaded. So for example, in the first step, you need to form a team by 2. Okay, then you need to design. So regarding to the programming language, any programming language is possible, but should be available on the GCP. So even though GCP supports the C#.NET environment, is not very strongly suggested. Okay, because they support the Microsoft product, but not very helpful. So I strongly suggest to use one of the Unix and the Linux machine, and you can use many of the students recently use the Python, which I also suggest. So then you can use the Java, ASP, but the Microsoft product is very hard to work with the cloud computing. Okay, or if you are using, so another thing you need to consider is it is saying that probably in your programming or OP class there are different layers of the application. Okay, so this is I forgot suddenly. So your program, there is something named program. So program and interface. When you develop any application, you need to decide whether something nice, the GUI, or something command line input, or such an interface level, and also your programming logic. We are going to add one more, that is database. Okay, that is different. Sometimes it's called the back end. This one is called front end. So you need to decide the front end also. So like I'm going to use many of the students would like to use the web application. So web interface. Okay. So it's also I suggest. But if you decide to use the front end as the web application, you need to decide what kind of web server, web application server that you are going to use. Okay. So if you are using the Microsoft product like the Visual Studio, it provides its own the IIS and so on, so you can use. But this is not the local machine. So we are going to use a GCP. GCP has several the application server, or you can install by yourself. For example, you can use the App Engine, which the GA or me introduced. App Engine actually include the default the application server, web server, like the Django. If you know the name of Django, so one of the most popular the web server used in the Python the project. Okay, so by several clicks you can create the website everything using the Google Cloud. Okay, what you guys need to do is the database and the front end to add some interface. Okay, if you do not know what the Professor Lee is talking about right now, so you will get more information later. Also, you can search Google more about the, because I'm not going to teach how to make the web application server, or if you decide to use Java, some of the students actually directly connect. So these two are combined into one. Okay, so no the front end, the business part, so you can combine into one, then directly connect the database, not using any middleware like the application server or web server. So at that time, so you can implement like one of the main problem is this one, connection. There are many different database and also different program languages, different server. I cannot teach every case of the database connection. It's also your responsibility. It's really painful because there's no general solution of this. Okay, even though we have standard. So Java used the JDBC and Microsoft product used ADO and something like that. But so this is another thing you need to set up. For example, GCP, when you use the cloud computing, the security is always the problem. Like the filtering the IP address and so on. So you need to figure out how to connect it. Even though the GA will introduce this one during the exercise. Okay. So this is the overall thing of the database you guys need to. Then the first thing is you are going to define the problem. Like even though I provide this is a very basic. There are three types of users. This is a requirement. Requirement is not doesn't mean you can do only this one. Based on this, you are going to add your idea, your design, and so on. Okay. So if I'm saying that, for example, sometimes if I do not specify such a thing, the student implement only one or two query, okay, or one or two menu. So after that, I provide the 15 or the 10. Then students sometimes always implement exactly the minimum requirement. So please do more flexible. Okay, definitely it should be much more than that. So even though I'm asking the 15, please, if you satisfy the minimum requirement and add your idea, it's much more the query you need. So please the design, based on your imagination and the definition. So mostly the first phase is the documentation, formatting and the documentation. It doesn't require any knowledge of the database. Okay. I strongly suggest to use your experience on the software engineering and the programming class. So in your software engineering, so you use, for example, UML or use case modeling and so on. Please use such a thing instead of. Last class I was surprised that some of the students just write on the paper and take the photo, really then submit it. So instead, this is a good practice to use your experience. Yes.
What if we write like, you said at least 15 queries, what if we write like 30 for a water project?
Then we'll give the definitely extra
So
one.
what if we run out of time and we don't cover all of those?
That may be possible. For example, I designed this much, okay? Then finally you implement the part of them. If that is reasonable, I usually accept. I understand, but you can pursue. But if you implement or design too much, like I'd like to implement for example, what else? The UB registration system that can cover the 7,000 students. Okay, then a lot of different menu. So you may not complete your project. So I usually suggest to reasonable. Okay? So, but the first time you can think about the more. So, but if you complete, definitely it will be compensated. Okay. Okay. So probably I'm not going to mention about this one again soon. So I'm going to focus on the lecture, but you can read carefully. Then if you have any question, you can ask through the Canvas message or in the classroom. So then I will address any issues. So yes.
Is it more open-ended? Or are you going to give like, this is the project and it has to have all of these specific things in it?
So please try to follow the such an instruction.
Okay.
So like the step one, you can give because it's kind of formal documentation. So think about the best way to understand that this project is you are doing the real project. Okay. So I'm the customer. So you can submit the idea like the request per proposal RFP. Then if you just without any formatting, just the sketch, doesn't look like good. Try to
But
do
it's
your
like
best.
in terms of like features that it must include, or because you're saying we can.
If you have this is I have used a similar format the last 10 years.
Okay.
Then try to some of the student, for example, the 5 queries. So I add modified such a thing. But if you have any other idea or any other thing, so you can add.
Sure.
No problem.
This
Such a
one is
thing.
uploaded on Canvas, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other? Okay, so I'm not going to mention this one again, but the next week I will I'll check your team. Okay, that's the urgent and the most important one. Please read carefully. So any document that I mentioned here in this classroom, you can find it from the Canvas. Yes.
How big are the groups?
The two.
Okay.
Yes. So single will not be allowed. Okay, that's not fair. Okay, because I know some of the students prefer the single project. Okay, so I am going to allow by 2 in case of art. So both art, the undergraduate, graduate, I will form a team. For exception. But if we have only one art from one of the class, then I'm going to assign the student to one of the team. Okay, so one team may be 3, group by 3, the other group by 2.
Okay.
And so it looks like that. And also, one last thing, so he will not be here every day. So if I pass the due like the 10:45, after 10:45, please let me know. Sometimes I couldn't remember the time. Okay, thanks so much. And next class we will start the first lecture.